And welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us again as we continue our chronological read through of Scripture. For a long time, our readings have been absolutely filled with action. Today and tomorrow, well, not so much. Our readings are going to be, much more descriptive in nature, really no action at all. If you remember from yesterday, Moses has been called by God to the top of Mount Sinai, where he's going to be with God for 40 days and for 40 nights. Now, during that time, God conveys to Moses detailed terms of the covenant and instructions for the worship life of his people. Today, we're going to hear about the sanctuary and various items that will be a part of that, a part of its service to people. Chapter 25 begins with God telling Moses to ask the people to contribute to the building of the sanctuary. They're supposed to contribute gold and silver and bronze and yarns and skins and incense and olive oil. The list just goes on and on and on. All of the things that the sanctuary needs will be donated by the people of God. And there is to be nothing compulsory about it at all. People are to donate as their heart moves them to do. It's going to be key to remember that voluntary nature of this giving over the next few days, because it's going to come into stark contrast with some other events that are going to happen in another day or so. The sanctuary itself has a number of items associated with it. There's the Ark of the Covenant. There's a table for something that's called the bread of the presence. You'll hear more about that later, actually quite a bit more about that. There's a lampstand. There's a bronze altar. There's the tabernacle itself. And there are a few other items that we will not be reading about today, but I believe we'll read about tomorrow. God's instructions for these items are, they're very detailed. It really makes for fascinating reading, or actually maybe very boring reading. I guess it depends on your point of view. But I hope that you will be of that former mindset. You see, it really shouldn't be surprising at all that God goes into such great detail about the sanctuary, because the sanctuary, the tabernacle, is to the Old Testament what the incarnation, Jesus, is to the New Testament. You see, the tabernacle is where God will be present, just like Jesus. The tabernacle is where Israel will find atonement, reconciliation between God and man, just like Jesus. This is why no trouble is spared, why only the best and the finest of materials is used, and why God takes such great interest in the minutest of details about this. A few things that I'd like you to remember as you read. First, a cubit is roughly the length of your forearm, a cubit. The mercy seat, that's where God promises to be present for his people. What a blessing it is that it's called a mercy seat and not a seat of judgment or a seat of justice or something else like that. You see, God's mercy is his proper work. It's what he wants to do the most. Judgment, punishment, those are his alien work, that which he does because he must. Let's see, another thing, the table of the bread of the presence. That table is going to hold not only bread, but also a drink offering of wine. That should remind you of something, shouldn't it? A table with bread and wine. There'll be some symbolism here. Everything that's being made, another thought, everything that's being made will need to be easily assembled and disassembled for traveling. And you're going to see hints of that in the description of these items as you read. You'll be able to tell how they can be easily set up and then taken down and carried in pieces. Hopefully you have a study Bible or some other resource that will let you visualize what this all looks like when it's done. It really helps to understand how the various items are arranged, what's inside the tabernacle, what remains outside the tabernacle, what's within the perimeter, and so on. Basically, that will complete our reading for today. Tomorrow we'll read about the vestments of the priests and the regulations for consecrating the priests before we return again to descriptions of the remaining physical items associated with the tabernacle that we don't get to today, and some supplies that are needed for its function. Again, I pray that you're blessed by your reading today, and hope that you find it interesting to see all these things that God has them put together so that He can be, so that His presence can be seen, can be felt among them. May God be with you and bless you, and I look forward to gathering with you again tomorrow.